started and I'm crying. Hi, I'm Macy, and this is my story. So my freshman year of high school, one of my friends invited me to go on a mission trip to Vermont. And I knew what a mission trip was, and I'd always grown up with God, but not actually having a relationship with God. But I always knew that God was real, and he was just someone in the sky that you talked to whenever something bad was going on. On my mission trip to Vermont, I was saved, and I remember just sitting in the grass doing devotions at the front of the building where I was, and it was just an overwhelming love that I felt, and it was a love that I'd never felt before. And then after, I realized that it was the love of God, and at the time I was actually kind of angry with God because I just thought that he didn't really have much control over my life at all. This God that I didn't know came into my life, and at the time my grandmother had just been diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer, and I didn't really know how to use it or how to work with it, but it was just a really emotional time. So adding God onto that really just helped to calm my concerns and my feelings, which is really awesome. Accepting Jesus into my life really turned it around, and then in my head I was like, oh, I'm a Christian, it's gonna be really easy to live, and it's gonna be an awesome life, and God will have my back, kind of thing. I got baptized this past August, which was awesome, and everything was going pretty good. And then my dad struggles with a mental illness, and he was very unhealthy and made some really serious threats to me and my sister. And it was just a time in life where you just have to completely just cut him out, which is really hard for me because I always had a really close relationship with him when I was younger. So I hadn't talked to him for about a year and a half. And this past February, I got a call saying that he was super sick in the hospital. Then I felt guilty for not having that relationship with him or the connection with him. But at that time, I also felt that it was right, and that God told me, you need to step back and work on yourself before you can work on the relationship with your dad. So I stepped back and I worked on myself. And so when I got the call that he was sick, I went to go see him. And it was the first time that I saw him in about a year and a half. But during that time that my dad was super unhealthy, I've gotten super close with my sister, Mindy, which is really awesome because all through childhood we always just fought and we never got along and never saw eye to eye on anything. But because we saw eye to eye with where my dad was and where we were in our situations at home, it was really just comforting. So without God using my dad's illness, me and my sister would have never gotten close, and we wouldn't be where we are today, which is pretty phenomenal. So even though when my dad was super unhealthy and it felt kind of like an empty space, and it felt kind of like I was praying to God and I wasn't getting any answers. It was kind of like he couldn't hear me, or he just chose not to hear me, which God doesn't choose not to hear prayers. He hears all of them. It's just a matter of time where he answers them or not. And this one just answered it in a really odd way, and a year and a half later. So even though God doesn't answer prayers sometimes exactly when you want him to, he comes at the time when you need him the most. Dad got healthier, so he's at a really good spot right now. He's not completely healthy, but it's a relationship that only God will lead, and I'm just gonna trust that it will become the relationship that I had with him once more, which is awesome. It's all for good.